Hello, my name is Sirkka Heinonen and I am Professor Emerita in Future Studies at Turku University, Finland Futures Research Center. And yes, you heard it right, there is a discipline called Future Studies, and we have university programs both at master's and doctoral level. Previously, I've been working as a chief research scientist at the Technical Research Center of Finland, VTT, for several decades, combining future studies and urban studies. I'm fascinated by thinking about the future of cities, because I think that cities and urban spaces, they are an excellent topic for reflections, different kind of debates and studies. I'm personally especially interested in the complex interaction between humans, as citizens, and nature and technology. Sustainability and well-being are then the glue that binds these three elements together. Let me mention that I'm also a full member of the Club of Rome, which has recently been reactivated. The club has, for example, published a very serious report or document called Climate Emergency Plan for Decision Makers to Act upon it. Global challenges such as climate change, population changes, digitalization, lifestyle changes, energy changes, they are also tackled within the so-called Millennium Project, where I am chair of the Helsinki node. And there is also a Finnish Society for Future Studies, where I am vice president. Systematic future thinking is not just an academic concept or a theoretical framework. It is a critical skill and capacity, cognitive capacity. It is available for anyone who is interested in adopting and practicing and developing systematic future thinking. And it is important to remember that systematic future thinking is based on three key principles. First of all, and this sounds like a paradox, the future cannot be predicted. However, it can be imagined, foreseen, and anticipated, but not revealed in exact predictions. Secondly, there is not just one future, but several alternative futures. That is why we talk about futures in the plural. And that is why we always make several alternative scenarios, for example, for a city or a company or an organization, and not just one futures narrative. Thirdly, and this is very important, we can affect the future. Actually, what we plan and decide today will have a strong impact on the futures that are evolving to become our present. And besides that, these three key principles, there are also different kinds of futures existing, not only one and not only one kind of future. There are many kinds of futures. There are possible futures, there are probable futures, and then there are preferred futures. We can focus on either what can happen, what will likely happen, or what we would like to happen. By the way, what is in your opinion, the most important type of these three futures? In fact, it is equally important to think about all these three types of futures, not to settle with looking at probabilities only. So this kind of systematic future thinking can be called futures literacy. My favorite claim is that every city, every organization, every government, and even every individual needs a robust future strategy. And by this I mean what follows. A future strategy is something you can build upon your normal strategy process. You just add 3 core elements to it. Firstly, a future strategy extends the time horizon considerably longer. 50 years or even 100 years may sound really frightening in our quartal economy, but in fact, you can take this long perspective, you can adopt it and test it. It's very interesting. Of course, the longer the time horizon is, the more difficult this kind of exploration of futures becomes. On the other hand, and the point is this, the point in extending the time span, it is indeed opening up wider avenues and also thinking about the otherwise unthinkable. Secondly, a future strategy means broadening your view, not only extending the time horizon, but also broadening, widening your view. This happens by practicing the so-called peripheral vision, looking at the periphery, at something else than your core business, your focus is. This means getting to know something totally different, out of the box things. This may end up in new innovations, new practices, even concrete new business ideas, and how to plan and develop a city or an organization. You may, for example, combine city planning and medicine, restaurants and religion, sports and sustainability, to give a few examples of these kind of strange combinations. Thirdly, about a future strategy, it is important to realize that a future strategy is being built by using several future studies tools and techniques that are indeed already available. One is scenarios, scenario construction, and scenarios are manuscripts of the future. They may be the best known futures technique, but there are more than 30 different methods available for exploring the futures. Both the Millennium Project that I mentioned earlier and the Finnish Society for Future Studies, they have published excellent and useful methodological books for everyone who is interested in applying future studies in concrete cases. Finally, a future strategy is robust when it admits that the surprises are the new normal. We can never know in detail all the surprises that there are coming in our way, but we can be sure that there will be a lot of surprises coming. However, we can prepare ourselves. We can prepare our companies, organizations, our cities for such surprises and shocks, of which the current coronavirus pandemic is, of course, a very illustrative example. This happens by imagining surprises, even very unexpected surprises, and then making conclusions for relevant action. In other words, I think that proactive thinking is this kind of critical requirement, instead of just responding to change. I expect from the Future Spaces seminar lively discussions and especially cross-fertilization of different ideas, opinions, and views. So, in other words, future dialogue. What is everybody's view or opinion, what future spaces should be, could be. And then also bearing in mind that cities and urban spaces, they are really the core milieux where we live, work, and spend our leisure time. So why not try to imagine and make them both sustainable and livable for users? And I wish that everybody that will attend the seminar will have both inspiration and tools to think about the future systematically, very openly, very boldly, from different angles, as well as motivation to concretely take some of the ideas into action in their own sphere of life. So thank you and see you at the seminar.